I hereby call this meeting to order on the City Council special meeting, January 13th, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Amanda, will you please take the roll call for attendance?
Councilor Baumgartner. Present. Councilor Cuevas. Here. Councilor Pettigrew. Here. Councilor Prophet. Here. Councilor Rockwell.
Here.
Councilor Salata.
Here.
Mayor Keeper.
Here. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so we'll go right into what we're here for is the public hearing. I will read the proceedings on how we're going to follow this evening. The public hearing on the adoption of the Parks Master Plan is called to order. The request is to adopt the Parks Master Plan as a guidance document for a planned update to the City of Boardman Comprehensive Plan to inform Goal 8. The hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. First, the staff report followed by any additional correspondence that has been received. Questions of staff from the City Council. Public testimony in the following order. Testimony in favor of the proposed adoption. Testimony opposed to the proposed adoption. Neutral testimony. Rebuttal testimony by staff. Questions of staff, if any, by the City Council, and discussion by the City Council. A decision may be made by the City Council at the close of the hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time, date, and place certain in the future. If the matter is reset to a time, date, and a place certain in the future, this will be the only notice of that date you will receive. If you wish to speak, please fill out a testimony card and submit it to the city clerk. I will then call on people who want to speak. Any questions should be addressed through me because the hearing is being recorded. Please state both your name and address for the record when you come to the podium. Please keep your testimonies concise and to the point. We will be going by testimony of 5 minutes per person this evening. Please note failure to raise the issue with sufficient specificity to afford the City Council and the other parties an opportunity to respond to the issue prohibits an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. At this time, I ask the members of the City Council to disclose any conflict of interest. Please indicate the nature of the conflict and whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing. Do I have anybody that is abstaining from this proceedings? Hearing none, we'll move on. Planning official Carla McLean will now present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Keeper. So the action before you tonight is the adoption of the Parks Master Plan. It's the first one for the city. It was completed as a joint process of collaboration with the Boardman Park and Recreation District. We identified as the city the need for a Parks Master Plan when we were looking at our system development charges. This goes back a number of years now, probably at least 3 years ago, pre Mr. Hammond. In order to add parks or transportation to our SDC methodology, we needed to have a capital improvement list. And so that was one of our primary impetuses for engaging in this process. For the district, it was matter that the Parks Master Plan that they had expired and they needed to replace it with a new plan. It is the city's first master plan. It is the process that we went through was to seek a consultant firm. We did. Over the course of about 14 months, we held, I'm going to get this right here. We had 5 PAC meetings, so we had a very nice and robust public advisory committee that was appointed. There were several outreach activities that occurred that included 2 open houses, community surveys, several targeted focus group activities. And then back on November 20th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing. They are recommending adoption of the plan to you. The findings of fact were included as part of your packet. They do review the substantive criteria that are applicable to this and identify and review the applicable comprehensive plan goals as well as the statewide plan goals, which are the same. And again, this is done not only to help support the system development charge process, but also to inform a comprehensive plan update that is currently going on, in particular goal 8 recreation. It was written to assist both the city and the district to manage current park and recreation assets, of which it's surprising how many we really have in our community, particularly when you look at other providers. The Port of Morrow has several facilities in town. And then we also have the school district property, and then Tuscany has their own park within their community. The city staff can use the Parks Master Plan as a roadmap for management of current park assets, development or redevelopment of current parks, to help establish a vision with supporting goals and objectives, and consider amendments to our comp plan and development code based on what's included in there. It's an overwhelming document. I get that. It's rather large, particularly when you consider not only the plan, but the appendices as well. There's a lot of detail in there. And could be seen as overwhelming. I mean, it's a lot of detail. We'll know if the Parks Master Plan has been a success if the city has maintained our parkland at a target of 15 acres plus or minus per 1,000 residents. But there are no areas of the city that are underserved by city parks, that trail mileage has increased to more than 5 miles, and then all of the city's parks are accessible as defined by the Americans with Disabilities Act. And currently, there's a few of those targets that we're not meeting current standards, let alone, where we would want to be at some point in the future. So it is designed as a 10-year plan, and it's just a lot of work that needs to happen through that time. I've read through several versions of it, and what I can share confidently is that I see it as a very thorough, thoughtful, and forward-thinking plan, and it should serve the city well for the next 10 years. Again, the findings of fact are included as part of your packet. It does include the substantive criteria. It is signed by the Planning Commission Chair. It's the outcome of the Planning Commission public hearing. The plan itself has a number of chapters. It goes through a lot of detail. The process started out with the consultant team coming out, and they did a really thorough inventory of the park system, not just the city parks, but the district as well. Obviously, it was a collaborative process. I think George and I have commented to each other a number of times that we've learned a lot through this process. We've learned more about what we should be doing. We've learned about how parks should be developed and managed. I've always known a little bit about the Americans with Disabilities Act. I've never really thought about how it applies to parks. And it does, and it should. We're not hitting the mark at this point in time. It's something that we know we're going to need to work on over the next 10 years. I thought the community engagement was incredibly informative. Hearing from people about what they want and about what they need. We very much have a community that is a minority majority community. Soccer is by far and away one of the most desired sports in Boardman, followed by baseball and softball. And then just a clear desire for walking trails and parked places and a park bench and misters. And because it gets hot in the summer, and all of those types of opportunities. I think from the district's perspective, the comments about what the Marina Park offers and what is lacking. I just think there was a lot of information that was gathered through the surveys, through the open houses, the inventory, the detail in what's at each park, what's there. Our GIS system worked with the consultant, our GIS folks from Anderson Perry. We have those layers as we work towards implementing interactive GIS map. We'll actually have a parks layer. We'll be able to show a lot of those assets as we kind of figure out what we want to show and how to show it. I think that's the biggest question. We've got so much data, we're not quite sure, you know, how to sift through that to determine what should be public facing and what's beneficial to staff. There is information in there about goals, policies, policies to establish, things to strive for. There's just a lot in there, and Giselle, who has worked diligently and just done a phenomenal job with this, is available tonight. So if you do have any specific questions that get into the detail, I'm frankly going to defer to her because she knows the plan. Again, I've read it a number of times, but she does know it inside and out. Again, if there's details about the specifics of the plan, we're glad to get into them, but this staff report is going to be a pretty high overview. The last piece that I want to talk about is comments that we have received from Jonathan Tallman. 5 emails have been submitted. That packet was uploaded late this afternoon. There are 428 pages, including his emails and attachments. I have put together a 2-page response to that. The emails do not address the substantive criteria. Most of it doesn't address really directly the Parks Master Plan itself. It addresses concerns about coordination or concerns about impacts to his property. And I think it's really important to state that the Parks Master Plan is a planning level document. It doesn't have park design in it. It doesn't have put a bench here, put a trail there. It says, these are the things you need to do. These are the things you need to consider. Do we need to follow this up with a refinement of a trail plan? Yes. Does this identify where trails could go? Absolutely. But you cannot, the city staff cannot, based on the adoption of the Parks Master Plan, acquire land for parks. That's an action that the city council must take. And this plan does not include a proposal for acquisition of any specific property. This plan also does not include a trail design or a trail alignment. It says, yes, we want a trail. We want it to run under the BPA lines from roughly Paul Smith or Scobell Road to Laurel Lane. Do we know exactly where that will land? No. It's going to require land acquisition or easement acquisition to get there. Does this identify we want a trail that goes from point A to point B? Yes. Does it specify how it will happen? No. One of his emails addresses the Morrow County Capital Improvement Plan, over which we have no authority or control. He raises items within that capital improvement plan related to the Heritage Trail, of which a portion will run through the city of Boardman. But they're in the process of taking a concept plan that was adopted in about 2000 and converting it into a master plan to move closer to development. As I understand it, their master plan also does not specifically authorize acquisition of land or provide a specific trail alignment. It is a plan. It is a planning level document. It is not a design and construction document. He also addresses, well, he restates a number of items. He includes as an attachment a LUBA decision that is not pertinent to this. And it's a LUBA decision that the city has responded to. It was a remand, and the city responded to that remand in 2023 with a final decision in 2024. He also references a public records request, which is again not pertinent or relevant to the action in front of you, but it impacts the city clerk. She has provided an invoice to Mr. Tallman, and if he would choose to receive the documents he's requested, there's an invoice that he needs to pay for that action. So again, 428 pages, nothing was raised to a point where staff felt that it was applicable or would affect your decision in any way. I think with that, I would conclude my staff report. And again, both Giselle and I are here if you have any questions about the plan itself, or the, you know, if there's a detail in there or something that caught your attention that you'd like to understand.
So we'll wait for that at the end. There's a later part where.
Sure, we can absolutely respond to all of
We'll
that.
listen to the comments. And then the staff, the city council, if they have any questions about that with the staff report. That will come out then. I will now call on those who wish to testify in favor of the proposed adoption. I will now call on those who wish to testify in opposition of the proposed adoption. And either one, the Tallmans, you guys can choose which one who wants to go first. Who would like to go first?
Good evening, Mayor and city council members and staff of the Boardman city. My name is Cheryl Tallman. I live at 706 Southwest Mount Hood Avenue in Boardman. And I am also the owner of the Farmers Cup. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Farmers Cup. It's a local business operating as a tenant on property shown within or adjacent to the corridor concepts referred to in tonight's materials. We are concerned about the continued advancement of the same corridor through multiple planning tracks, the city, the Park and Rec District, and the county. While related transportation system plan issues remain unresolved and are under appeal. As a tenant business, the sequencing and uncertainty affects our ability to plan, invest, and operate with confidence. We are not taking a position on ultimate outcomes tonight, but we want to ensure the record reflects these concerns. The Farmers Cup is placing this statement into the record solely to preserve its procedural rights and does not waive any rights under Oregon law. We would prefer a coordinated good faith process rather than serial proceedings. And we appreciate the opportunity to be heard. Thank you.
Jonathan.
So before my time starts, can I get a written copy of this decision?
Yes,
Where's it at?
well, a decision won't be issued until the hearing is finished.
Okay, it wasn't on there. And then also I want the conceptual design, the 400 pages. Can I get that printed off, please?
There's a cost to have things printed.
And
So
so,
you talk about what conceptual design.
so will this guidance?
John, stick with your.
No, but this is important. I just want to, I want to have it for the record. I'm just asking for the record. So I'm asking for the written documentation of this 400 pages. Can I get a written documentation here for this?
The email copy would not be.
Can I get a copy of it, the written documentation of it, like what she has right there?
It's
Can I-
all on the website.
No, but it has changed numerous times.
Your
Hold
time
on.
started. Sorry.
Hold on, it has changed numerous times. Okay, can you restart because I'm trying to talk and I'm being interrupted.
No, we're just telling you that the documents are online and that's where we're not gonna print them off
Okay.
for you.
All right, so you're not gonna print them off for me. Thank you, that's what I'm.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can, you can print them off on, or look at them online.
But
That's why they're there.
they've been redlined, okay? You guys made a decision on the 6th, and then it got redlined 2 days ago. I'm asking you to keep the record open on a 777 basis. For this. This is very important. This is the issue that I have because things are changing. The best analogy that I can use is this is like a football game where it's audibling back and forth. Just like here in the last 24 hours, it was audible to have the park master plan without the park and rec. What was the decision why that was made? I never heard a written reason why that was not made, substantiated for the record, the written down laws on that aspect of it. So what I'm here to show you is I've also have issues with, normally you guys ask if there's any conflict of interest and then you ask the audience. I wish I could have spoke of that and I reserve my rights to bring that up later, because I've spoken about the non-disclosure agreements. On the January meeting here, you guys gave a written, document of the well that you, did that was originally updated in the plan for, commission on November 20th by the planning commission. You guys spent $1 million to update the water booster station that is not compliant with code right now. So you guys did that. And I want this on the January meeting, you guys already approved it, which would show the non-disclosure agreements and the conflict of interest there. You guys also, besides that booster station, have updated the property, this one where they're 12 feet apart. I have 2 sites. This does not meet up to compliance, and you guys have already updated this on the planning commission in May of 2025. This is not compliant with code right now, the way it is, and this plan that you guys have put forward is making it so that those compliances are out of compliance. My whole point is to negotiate and work with people, all right? This does, all right, go over, and I can substantiate on the April 15th March plan. It on the 52 mark, it mentioned this is funded by Amazon, and it goes from Paul Smith to Laurel Lane, right over my property, because that's inside the city limits. Okay, when you go to the meeting notes, and that's why I asked for the written documentation, it mentions nothing of that part in the meeting whatsoever. Those need to be looked at so specifically. That is why I'm asking for the written documentation of it, because what you see online and what you see in written are 2 different things. And have you guys looked at the whole 400 pages? I mean, 400 pages, we need to really go over this document. And again, all I want is to negotiate this in good faith. You guys gave a letter of intent offer, all right? That letter of intent showed that you guys wanted that property. It was not a legal ORS 35, which I invoked. Why wasn't that followed? Isn't that lawful? Heather, I know that you're running for county office. Don't you want transparency? Don't you guys want transparency? Is that true transparency? Can you ask that? Is that we can make this work right now, negotiate in good faith, and make this work, because Boardman will succeed if we all work together. Thank you for the time.
Is there anyone else? I don't have any other public comments.
Where's my sheet? I filled out a sheet.
It was not.
Did you fill it out up there?
Oh, is it left up there? Okay, we'll just, if you fill one out, we can fill one quickly out, or you take one. Yeah, that'll work. Thank you. Randy Baker,
Yes, sir.
it's your,
Randy Baker, I'm at 70251 Pioneer Lane, Boardman, Oregon. Anything else?
no, okay.
I just got some stuff I just want to read off here. These are just open questions that have just come about. And don't want any answers, just put it out there. And then there's a question I asked AI, you want to read that. Just trying to understand, why does the same trail show up in the county's heritage plan and also in the city's transportation system plan? Between the county, the city, and Park and Rec, who's actually responsible for this trail? What part of this Park and Rec's decision versus something that's already been decided by the city or the county? Do the property rights or easements of this trail already exist? Or is it that something that's expected to happen later? Have the city, county, park district all agreed on this trail, or are they each approving it separately? If the city already has this corridor in its transportation plan, what changes because Park and Rec is adopting it too. Is this being adopted now so someone can apply for grants, or is it more of a placeholder for future planning? Who would actually apply for funding or grants for this trail? The city, the county, or Park and Rec? If questions come up later about property access or costs, which agency would handle that? Now, I asked AI a question. The question I asked is, what is the effect the First John property of the city of Boardman Transportation System Plan, the city capital infrastructure booster station, the Park and Recreation District Parks Master Plan, and the Morrill County Heritage Trail Corridor Action? And I was given a step-by-step how the effect is created across agencies. 1, the City Transportation System Plan. Effect created, policy level constraint. The TSP maps a corridor across or adjacent to the First John property. Even if labeled conceptual, it signals future right-of-way needs, shapes access expectations, informs infrastructure placement, affects lenders, buyers, and developers. The effect on First John, the property is no longer, quote, unencumbered, unquote, in planning terms. It is now subject to an assumed future public use. 2, the city capital infrastructure booster station. Effect escalated from policy to implementation. The city funds and builds water infrastructure sited on city land, justified by growth assumptions tied to the same corridor area, coordinated with the Port of Morrill, serving Amazon demand. Effect on First John. The corridor is no longer abstract. It is being used to justify real investment, which locks in alignment assumptions, hardens future expectations, narrows alternative development plans. This is when conceptual becomes operative. Number 3, Parks and Recreation District, Parks Master Plan. Effect multiplied, map laundering. District options, corridor maps affecting private land, and claims the plan is, quote, guidance only, unquote. But the city is relying on the same maps. Effect on First John. The corridor gains institutional permanence. It now appears in multiple adopted plans, multiple agency records, multiple funding justifications. This makes the corridor harder to challenge later and easier to rely on. Number 4, and final, County Heritage Trail, corridor action. Effect entrenched, cross-jurisdictional reliance. County proceeds knowing the city TSP is under appeal. Parks plan is newly adopted. County relies on both, explicitly and implicitly. Effects on First John. The corridor is now treated as regionally settled, even though no acquisition has occurred. No compensation has been offered. No single body has resolved impacts. At this point, the property is functionally pre-encumbered. Why this matters legally? This is the fulcrum. From LUBA's perspective, the multiple agencies rely on the same corridor in succession. The cumulative effect on the property is what matters, not whether any single decision claims to be advisory. From the DLCD's perspective, advancing infrastructure and land use assumptions across agencies, while appeals are pending, reflects a breakdown in coordination and meaningful participation. The specific effects on First John property in plain language. Even without formal condemnation, the combined adoptions, cloud development feasibility, shale financing and valuation, create uncertainty about access and layout, signal inevitable public acquisition, shift leverage away from the landowner, lock in infrastructure alignments before negotiation. That is real harm, and both LUBA and DLCD recognize it. Finally, why segmentation is the city's biggest vulnerability. No single agency states, quote, we are imposing a burden on this property, unquote. Instead, each says, and these are in quotes, these phrases, 4 of them, we're just planning. We're just providing guidance. We're just coordinating. We're just funding utilities. But together they produce one unavoidable outcome. The First John property is being treated as if it already hosts a public corridor. That is exactly what segmentation doctrine exists to prevent. Now, this ties back to ORS 35. You are not required to prove a taking to raise this. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to have? Is there anybody up there that wants?
No.
Okay. Does anyone wish to provide neutral testimony? And since there's no other testimony, the fourth one says that as the applicant wish to provide rebuttal to any of the testimony.
Sure.
Okay,
The Parks Master Plan adoption is a separate action from the TSP. The TSP's gone through your proceeding. It will be going through the county proceeding starting later this month. Should have a complete adoption by sometime in middle or latter part of February, depending on the county's reading of ordinance process. As staff, they are two different documents. They do two different things. They function differently. They provide different information to staff to do work now and in the future. It's unclear to me how they've gotten so intertwined. There are some similar corridors in both of them. Which is was programmed that way for some of them. But they're there for different reasons. I mean, the objectives of the TSP is around transportation, multimodal, making sure we have bicycle, pedestrian, freight, car, truck, you know, all those different modes. The Parks Master Plan is looking at those oftentimes similar or identical corridors with a different intent. It may still be bicycle and pedestrian, but the transportation is looking at it from the perspective of how we move people, and the Parks Master Plan is looking at it from the perspective of how do we connect people to places and what is the recreational component of that. So there's a lot of similarity in that, but there's some distinct differences as well. Can a person obtain a copy of tonight's proceeding? It's all been posted on the website. It's there. It was originally posted a week ago today, was updated on Friday afternoon, and again, we added some couple items this evening, but it's all there and available. Anybody can print that. Why was the district removed? Sorry about that, should have silenced that. Their process for adoption is different than ours. And in the end, it was just decided that rather than combine them, to just simplify it, we will manage our process, they will manage their process. I believe they will be adopting at their next meeting. I am not sure, I am not sure why we are having a conversation about the Port of Laurel booster station. It is on city property that is on Coonsey Lane, but it is not it's not an activity that is associated in any way to either the Parks Master Plan or to the Transportation System Plan. It is a booster station for the Port of Laurel to move non-potable water from point A to point B. They need a booster station. The city's property was in proximity. You at the last, I think just last week, you authorized the city manager to enter into a lease agreement with the port on that activity. I'm not sure what the pictures were that Mr. Tallman held up. I don't know what development that is. He keeps referring to an April 15th meeting of the Parks Master Plan. And he inferred tonight that a trail is funded by Amazon. There is no trail that has been funded by Amazon. We've not received funds from Amazon to do any kind of trail work. We've not asked Amazon for any funds to do any kind of trail work. I'm not sure where that is coming from. And the letter of intent did relate to the Tallman property. They are inferring ORS 335, that letter of intent was withdrawn. They keep referring to ORS 335. Those are the proceedings for condemnation of property. That was never the intent. It would not be the intent. Jurisdictions and utilities do have the right to go through the eminent domain process. There is nothing in the parks plan or in the TSP that is implying that there's any intent to condemn anybody's property for any of these projects. That doesn't mean that if the city needs to put a road in or needs to obtain property for public good, that they couldn't engage in the eminent domain process. It is usually the jurisdiction's last course of action. 25 years doing this job, I've watched a lot of utilities go through that process, and eminent domain is never their first choice. It is always their last choice. Mr. Baker's comments talk about the Heritage Trail. The Heritage Trail is a county project. It always has been and always should be. There is a portion of the Heritage Trail that goes through the city of Oregon, and there's a portion of the Heritage Trail that goes through the city of Boardman. It's planned to go from one county line, Umatilla, to the other county line, Gillum County. It's about 33 miles of trail. It's been a concept plan for 25 years. They're now converting it into a master plan. There are sections of the trail that have been built. In fact, there were sections of the trail through Boardman, the walking path that went down Main and goes out Wilson to Tom's Camp, and it's off walking path by then, obviously. It goes down Tom's Camp and goes out to Coonsey. Comes into Boardman through the Port of Morrow, down the old highway, which is now Columbia, and comes through the port. There's a loop trail in a loop to that trail in the park, the Marine Park. Who does what part of what trail? It kind of depends. They have their segments they've identified. The district has built part of the loop trail that's in the park. The city has helped facilitate part of the heritage trail as it went through the city. The master plan that they're adopting is going to realign that trail to hopefully be under the BPA line from Main Street going west. As I understand it, there are no components of the heritage trail that will be on or anywhere near that. What the district does with the heritage trail is a district decision. What the county does with the heritage trail is a county decision. If a portion of the heritage trail is in the city of Boardman, the city of Boardman will obviously have to coordinate with the county because they're most likely going to need some level of permitting to develop what they're proposing within the city. So will there be coordination? Yes. Who would apply for grants? Who knows? It kind of depends on who gets to the head of the line first and wants to take the action to apply for a grant. Those are all decisions that are somewhere in the future and none have been made at this point. Again, I don't understand the relationship to the Port of Morrow booster station. But the TSP, the Heritage Trail, and the Parks Master Plan. Again, the Heritage Trail is a county document, so I don't have any control over that. We don't have any input into that beyond the letters that Tamara and I swapped. I provided a letter of support for her process and she provided a letter of support for ours. Beyond that, that is the sum total of the coordination. I went to an open house. It's their project. We're not engaged or involved at any high level. Our consultants did converse, again, just to make sure that we weren't overlapping, that we weren't attempting to do work they are. But the Heritage Trail alignment from Main Street west under the BPA was what they created. And we're like, well, yeah, we need to make sure we honor that and we respect that, but it's their trail segment. If that gets built, it will be because of their building the heritage trail. So again, Port of Morrow Booster Station or Heritage Trail impacts to the First John property, I don't know that there would be any. The TSP has the loop roads in it. It's been in the Port of Morrow Interchange Area Management Plan since that was adopted in 2009, and that hasn't changed. They're still there. The city does not have the west side of those loop roads in our current CIP, and we don't envision placing it in our CIP. But again, the CIP is not here tonight. That is not part of the conversation. Tonight is the conversation about adopting a Parks Master Plan. And again, the Parks Master Plan does envision a trail from Scopo to Laurel. Where that will eventually be aligned, I don't know. I don't know. We know what we envision, but how it actually will get built, given the Tallman's reluctance to participate, probably be built on a different piece of property. Aligned differently under the EPA law.
Does anyone have any questions? Any council people? Comments? Carla? Okay. If there are no further questions, I will close the public testimony portion of this hearing. The public testimony portion of the hearing is now closed. All right, so if the city council wishes to continue the matter for any reason, the hearing should be continued to a date, time, place certain to avoid the need to publish new notice or action on the corresponding resolution 4-2026 will occur later on the agenda. At this time, there should be clarity on approval or denial of the request to provide direction if change or denial are the decision of the council. So if we have a choice of postponing to another time, or we do a motion.
I move to approve resolution 4-2026, a resolution adopting the city of Boardman Parks Master Plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I just want to comment, Carla, this is something that has been, ongoing for quite some time. And I do appreciate the input, that I think several people that are listed on the documents, have given from various agencies, community, individuals that took time to give input, and then of course from the council. I don't think I had said this earlier, but even just the input that that you guys took from, you know, I'm gonna speak for myself, but even just the names of the parks. I thought that I just wanted to say thank you for taking that input that, you know, many people have given, because it's hard when you have so many people giving input. And sometimes it can get confusing, but you have answered several of the questions.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to just reiterate what Christina said, that this has been a very long and very thorough process. And so I don't think that anything was done maliciously or undermined or underhanded or anything like that. I think everybody was very forthcoming with everything. There was plenty of open meetings, talk with the public, everything like that. And so we were probably about as transparent as you could be.
Is there any other discussion or comments? Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Councilor Baumgartner?
Yes.
Councilor Pettis?
Yes.
Councilor Pettigrew?
Yes.
Counselor Prophet,
Yes.
Counselor Rockwell,
Yes.
Counselor Salata.
Yep.
Mayor Keeper.
Yes.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned.